Okay, hello, year 7 and 8. Here we are on to lesson 2 of drama for the last term in our last 7 or 8 weeks. And today we're looking at the hero. So last week, you looked at the tragedy, where the story came from, and we looked at the tragic hero, the person who is relatable, maybe rich, maybe very brave, but who has a weakness. And that weakness means that their story ends badly. Maybe they have their downfall, they lose their power, or they die in some of the examples you sent me. But what we're looking at today is a bit different. It is the hero, the one that we know really well. You saw Superman fly across the screen, and he's an example of it. But I wanted to look first, before we watch a video, at what actually is a hero. Does it mean the same thing everywhere? And what are some examples? So, hero, what does it mean? Well, thousands of years ago, we had a type called the classical hero. So this applies all the way up to sort of Shakespeare times as well. And the classical hero's life always focuses on fighting. Usually they're in a war or a battle and they're in a quest and they save the day. They're usually something called semi-divine or extraordinarily gifted, and that is basically superhuman. Think of someone like Hercules who has extra powers, or Captain America. And fate and destiny plays a massive role in their stories. Whether they win is all down to their destiny. Think about Oedipus last week. He started off a hero. He won a war and he killed the bad king and he got the woman. But his fate told him he was going to marry his mum. So even though he thought he'd avoided that, what happened? He married his mum, killed his dad, found out, stabbed his eyeballs out. Okay, so definitely a tragic hero. But when you'll have heard a lot of teachers, maybe your history teachers, talk about a historical hero. So this is a different meaning of the word hero. This isn't someone that's necessarily been in a battle. These are people who risked their lives to try and save or protect others, often referred to as the great man. And is there a greater man in history than Martin Luther King, who stood up for the rights of black people in America, who gave some of the most famous speeches ever, who, let's face it, is an incredibly important and relevant person with what's going on in America at the moment. So that's a historical hero. Then we come to the more modern hero. Sometimes modern heroes, it's almost used as a word to describe just the love interest, the romantic person in the story. Maybe it's just the main male character in a story. And more recently, the sort of heroic character in a modern story is actually a lot less heroic and it's a lot more troubled. They have major flaws. Think about Tony Stark in Iron Man. He has some major weaknesses. An example here is Sherlock Holmes. Yes, he saves lives because he solves murders, but he's a massive alcoholic and drug addict, and he's less heroic than you'd expect. And that's what we had for many years, until a different type of hero became famous. And you know what I'm about to say. I'm about to say superheroes. Superheroes, you believe it or not, was not a thing when I was younger in terms of films. I didn't grow up going to the cinema watching all these superhero films. That's something that's only been around in the last 10 to 15 years. And you can see from the pictures here, there's been a lot of films in that time and they bring in billions of pounds. And the reasons that they come together is really, really interesting, actually. And the reason that it's become so popular is, well, experts think because of the economic crash of 2008, which is where banks borrowed loads of money and then lost the money, and that resulted in hundreds of thousands of people losing their jobs, their money, their homes. And what researchers believe is that superhero films became popular at that time because it was escapism and people wanted to go to a different place where they could see the hero triumph. And when you think now, I'm sure I'm not the only person out of everyone watching this video who has watched lots of Marvel or DC films during the lockdown. I'm making my way all the way through these films yet again, even though I've seen them all at least once before, because it's nice to see a hero win the day, especially when we're miserable. And what's interesting is during the Great Depression, which was so much worse than the one I was talking about before, most of you will have known about this. It was in America and it was really bad. And a lot of people were in very horrific situations. And that is when the superhero comic book first came out. So there's obviously a connection between people being really sad in their own lives and looking for a hero who saves the day to make themselves feel better. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a video that looks at the hero, but what their journey is. And this journey you'll see in any hero story you look at, I guarantee. And I want you to pay close attention to the video and the journey and the guy who invented it, because you're going to have a quiz on it. Now, I'm not allowed, because of YouTube's copywriting rules, to actually watch the video with you. They told me off last week. So what I want you to do is the following. At the bottom of this video on YouTube, there's a description box, and that looks like this, okay? So you go to the video, you scroll down. There'll be a thing there that says have a stock drama, and there'll be a description, and there will be a link to a video. Now I want you to press that video, that link, and that's going to take you here. And I want you to watch this video, What Makes a Hero. It's only 4 minutes long, okay? As soon as you've done that, I want you to come back and take the quiz, okay? The quiz is in Show My Homework. You cannot do the quiz until you've seen this video. Some of you sneaky people tried to get away with just guessing last week, and I noticed. But don't forget, you can do it 3 times if you think you've made a mistake, okay? So what I want you to do now is pause me, go watch this video and do the quiz, and come back when you are ready, okay? Lovely. So I'm going to assume that you've done the quiz and you've watched the video. So hopefully what's on the board right now does not look completely confusing. Now, this is the hero's journey that the man was talking about in the video. And this, I guarantee, if you watch any film, I need to watch, at the time of this video, you watching it, I should be up to Captain America Winter Soldier. So when I watch that, I'm going to look and I'm going to see this story journey being told out, I guarantee. So what I wanted to show you is how we can take any hero story and put it onto this. So I've split it up into 3 sections. So we've got number 1 to number 5. That is the introduction. We've got number 5 to number 10, and that is the initiation. And we've got number 10 to number 1, and that is the return to ordinary life. So let's look at another hero story. We're going to look at the story of Harry Potter. Now, I'm only going to look at the first film, because if I talked to you about all 7 films and 6 books, I'd be here forever. So, stage 1, the departure. Harry receives many letters from Hogwarts. He meets his mentor, Hagrid, who takes him to Diagon Alley. He travels on the Hogwarts Express and meets his friends. This is the point where he enters the special world. So then we go into stage 2, the initiation. He faces his magical obstacles that he has to overcome, things like the Sorting Hat, the Ogre, and Fluffy the 3-headed dog. He has temptations which we know he has to face, tests allies and enemies. His temptations in this case are being considered of joining Slytherin. He has to fight, there's some issues with Draco Malfoy, and there's some things about flying that he knows he has to avoid to achieve his goal, but they tempt him. Then, of course, he meets with Dylan. He has to go through a series of challenges to get to where Voldemort is hidden. And once he achieves that, his reward is the Philosopher's Stone. And then we move on to the final stage, stage 3, the return. So Harry's defeated Voldemort, therefore he's won Gryffindor hundreds of points and they win the cup. Harry doesn't want to return to the ordinary world, because there he lives with the horrible Dursley family. But he knows he has to. You can't stay at school all year round. So he returns to platform 9 3/4 via the Hogwarts Express. And after his first year in the wizarding world, he's grown as a person and he has become a hero, which we see repeated every single film. Every Harry Potter film has the exact same process. The only one that doesn't is the last 2, because they're one story split into 2. Okay, so this is again the same hero's journey, time and time again. But the task I want you to do is slightly different. And I've changed this based on what's going on in the world at the moment. We were going to do a task connected to this, but there's so much going on at the moment that it can be scary. And there's lots of news, especially with the Black Lives Matter protests this week, that I know I felt quite overwhelmed by it. But there's voices coming out, and there's voices and people who are brave enough and that I think of as heroes, who are standing up for that. So I thought, actually, let's pick a task. I want you to pick your real life hero. Someone that you know, dead or alive, who put themselves at risk for a cause they truly believed in. Okay, so I want one simple paragraph from you about why you think they're a hero. So, what issue do they fight for? What challenges do they face? And how do they overcome these? Try and remember to be specific with your examples. I'm going to show you my example now, okay? So, I've picked a woman called Jameela Jamil. She is a model. She was a presenter on Channel 4 when she was younger, and she plays Tahani, one of the main characters in Netflix's The Good Place. So here's my paragraph about her. My real life hero is Jameela Jamil. She has had to fight prejudice and racism to become famous. She almost didn't get her presenting job or her acting job on The Good Place because she is Indian. She is using her fame, especially on Instagram and her Instagram channel I Weigh, to raise awareness of body image and to point out celebrities who Photoshop their photos or who try to sell dangerous weight loss products such as skinny tea, despite the fact that people insult and threaten her for it. She isn't afraid to call out the Kardashians or big companies. She also talks about political issues like hashtag Black Lives Matter and violence in Kashmir. So that's my paragraph. Hopefully you can see from that why she's a hero of mine. And you can pick anyone. You could talk about Obama, Greta Thunberg, Miss Fitch-Holland. It could be anybody that you consider a hero, but I'd like to know why you think they're a hero. Okay, and as usual, you can submit this in 2 ways. 1, you can handwrite your answer, take a picture, send it to me on Show My Homework. 2, you can write it directly into the comment box on Show My Homework. Some of you have also typed it up and sent it to me. That is absolutely fine, but these are the easiest ways you can do on your phone. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. And the only thing left for me to say is, have fun. Bye, everyone.